Hello everybody, welcome back to the Chensor Dynasty here on twitch.tv/jchensor. My name is James Chen. We just finished First Attack episode all about neutral, and now this is your opportunity on the Twitch chat here to ask me questions that I may have, that you may have about the neutral slides and all that stuff like that. So if you have any questions about the neutral, about anything that I talked about here, this is your chance to ask. And here's the Twitch chat so you guys can see it at home. And you may ask some questions that people at home were wondering about as well. Definitely at jchensor in the chat. So I will see the information there. So Burstark says, feedback, you nailed the text, it's very good. Make liberal use of visual aid as much as possible. The slides are good, but also go for recorded footage, infographics, GIFs, whatever you can get a hold of. Yes, that is absolutely intended, Burstark, and I will be doing that more as time goes on. As I get into the flow of things and understand what I want to put in there, trust me, when I get to attack vectors, there's going to be a lot of visual aid in that one because we're going to need the visual aid on that one. When I do the distances of Ryu and Guile, I'm just going to have the game footage sitting here right on the screen and it's all ready to go. Bam! See right there, I can just put the footage on the screen. So trust me, in the future episodes, there's going to be a lot of visual aids going in there. That's definitely going to happen. Yes, when I talk about shimmies, when I talk about frame traps and stuff like that, I'm definitely going to try to go through a lot of that as much as possible. So Boats and Joe says, wow, James, neutral sure sounds great. Is it true that pressure and combos are boring, worthless one-player games and neutral is the only good part of the game? Absolutely not. So one of the important things that I want to talk about here is what happens is a lot of people have conflated combos with this idea that it is this one-player magical game or whatever, that it's just like, I'm playing Beat Mania, I'm playing Guitar Hero, kind of thing that, and the other guy doesn't get to do anything. What a lot of people have to understand here, the reason why I have combos actually listed here on the phases is because what happens in a lot of fighting games, and a lot of people don't realize this, is that combos is not just about having fun and doing whatever. Combos are your reward for doing the right thing. Your reward for playing the neutral and then getting to the point, and your reward for playing the neutral is getting the advantage on the opponent. Your reward for getting the advantage on the opponent is that you can now apply your mix-up. Your reward for landing your mix-up is now to make that mix-up pay out as best as possible. They're all part of the game. They're all part of the game, right? If the game is all combos and no neutral, bad game. If the game is all neutral, no combos, bad game, right? And then you're going to say, oh, what about Samurai Showdown? There's not very many combos in that game. Well, landing a giant heavy slash is kind of like, it basically serves the purpose of landing a combo. It's the same visceral thrill, it's the same reward, etc., etc. They've just kind of narrowed it down to largely one move. But combos still do definitely exist, and they will be how you can add up the smaller damage in a game like Samurai Showdown. But honestly, all the pieces of these phases here are equally as important. Neutral, like I said, is probably one of the most important fundamental parts of fighting games because this is where it starts. It always goes there, and this is where you're going to be playing the majority of your game. I'm sorry, Kitty, I accidentally elbowed you in the head. But that's where you're going to be playing a large portion of your game. But neutral isn't necessarily everything. And while some people do enjoy the neutral side, a lot of other players really enjoy the pressure advantage side. A lot of players enjoy the combo side. And to say one aspect of fighting games is right and the other aspects are wrong, I think is just an opinion. That's all it is. You just like that part more than the others. There are some people who equally enjoy all of these parts. You got a guy like Sako who's got execution up the, whatever you want to say. And the thing about it is, though, he is just as good at mind games and, all the strategy and all that stuff. He enjoys the whole aspect of it, right? And there are people out there who enjoy the whole thing. So, yeah, there are some games like Marvel 3 where the combos may be a little too long and you just got to sit there for a while and stuff like that. But again, you also have to understand that every fighting game is different, right? If you do prefer neutral more, then play some Samurai Showdown, play some, play some Street Fighter 5, play some Tekken 7. If you really like the long combos, go play some Dragon Ball, go play some Marvel. There's a game for all the different types out there. So there's no real reason to argue that neutral is better than doing combos or whatever. They're all a part and parcel of fighting games. They're all key components of that. And you have your preference. Go find the fighting game that suits that preference, and there you go. But in my opinion, they're all just as important as each other. So a lot of the trends of trying to take fighting games and take away the execution, take away the combos, I do feel like are doing fighting games a disservice, because I don't think that that is an aspect that should be removed from fighting games. In fact, one of the key things about combos that makes them so important is that they are the one area of fighting games that you can train the most on your own. And so for a lot of beginners in fighting games, being able to land a big combo, and when they land that big combo in an actual match, or if they land some really crafty Aegis Reflector mix-up or something, that is so rewarding. It's thrilling and it's wonderful. And to be able to give people an opportunity to train for something on their own and then see the payouts happen in a fighting game, which is a two-player game, but they get rewarded for something that they practice, is an important aspect of keeping people into fighting games. It's a great reward to people. Like, I've asked people, what's your favorite moment of fighting game? Oh, when I landed this mix-up, or oh, when I landed this crazy crush counter combo for the first time. It makes people excited, and I think that that's really important and should not be overlooked. So I really do think that part is very important. Yes, that cat does very much love me. Cylon Scion says, I'm a beginner and I find some button inputs difficult to pull off. Some stuff doesn't come out. Picking a character often ends up being the one that has a relatively easier input, even if I don't particularly like their playstyle. How can I improve? This will come up in future episodes, Cylon, about execution and everything like that. One of the toughest things about execution is that when you first try to learn execution, it feels like magic. Execution feels like magic, and it feels like something that somebody else just can do and you can't do. There's like it's like if you don't know how to whistle, you just can't whistle. If you don't know how to juggle, you just can't juggle and stuff like that. It feels like it's a talent thing. But I'll tell you right now, I am not a very dexterous person at all. I'm a very clumsy person, etc., etc., but I'm very good at combos. I'm very good at landing complex combos and stuff like that in fighting games. And why is that? And it has nothing to do with a hidden talent. It's because execution is actually a science. The reason why I have good execution is because I've studied the game systems. I understand why things happen and why they don't, right? And so a lot of times you'll find out your inability to perform execution, or why some things don't come out, is because you just don't understand what the actual reason is that the thing is not coming out, right? So a lot of times if you try to cancel, like let's say you're in Street Fighter, you're trying to learn crouching medium kick into a super, and you just can't do it. You just can't do it. You might not realize that the reason why it's happening is because you can only cancel those moves on the active frames that it hits the opponent. If Ken starts animating and starts pulling his leg back, you can't cancel it anymore. So you just might be doing the input too slowly, right? So what you do is you just practice crouching medium kick into fireball and listen to the button timing. Low forward fireball. That's the timing of the button presses you also need to do for the super. So you're sitting there thinking, maybe I'm not doing the super motion right or something like that. No, it might just actually be because you're hitting the button too late. If you're doing super, you can't get it out. But if you know that is the timing of the buttons, now you learn what you need to learn, which is speed up your super input. If you can't do it that fast, then you'll start learning the shortcuts. Blending the motion in your crouching medium kick, throwing the medium kick in the middle of the motion, etc., etc. This is all science. execution really comes down to a science. So if you have trouble with inputs on a lot of these fighting games, a lot of times you just think it's because you don't have a talent or there's just some weird thing about the game. No, it really just comes down, like if you just ask someone to really try to explain it to you, it can definitely help. It can definitely help your execution. Just understanding why things work and the systems and everything like that. So that's kind of that's the answer that I have for now. Hang on a second. Let me take away this thing so I can scroll the chat back a little bit. I'm going to take this away here. I can go to the chat and scroll back a little bit here. Let's see what else people say over here. Rabbit Leg says, I wonder if there should be an episode about understanding notation inputs. There was someone I was trying to help learn to throw a fireball, and they couldn't understand that arrows represented a motion. They thought it meant pressing all the directions at the same time. Yeah, you know what? I'll do that. I'll understanding notations. Definitely gonna put that on my list of stuff to do. I like that idea, Rabbit Legs. I will definitely do that for the beginners. And see, that's a perfect example right there of, you know, giving me something that I wouldn't even think about doing, but actually would be really important. So shout outs to Rabbit Legs for that. Yeah, muscle memory is a big thing, like Investigation Cone says. Muscle memory is a big thing. Once you understand the science behind execution, then the muscle memory kicks in. That's really, really kind of one of those important things. So you keep trying, and at some point it just clicks. It does really seem like magic. It's true. It does feel like magic in a lot of ways. But the thing about it is, that's true about just about anything you do. The first time you try to make a pretzel at a pastry shop, feels like magic sometimes, like when you try to fold that pretzel. But then after a month of just trying to fold that pretzel over and over and over again, all of a sudden you're just like picking up the two ends and you go, whoop, cha, and there you go. There's a pretzel right there, right? Everything is that way. I found out, for example, I had a talent for flipping my hard contact lenses when I used to wear contact lenses that I didn't even know I had until my brother noticed it. So when you have your contact lens in the case and it's like cupped up like this, I would put my finger in it, it would stick to the tip of my finger, and I would just do this, and all of a sudden I had it facing upwards. And I would just put it in my eye. I didn't even realize I had developed this ridiculous motion that I would just go like, boop, whap, and I had it like every time because I did it every day, once, every day. And I just got so good at it. And that's the thing, is you don't want to look at execution like it's some sort of magical talent that you have to have, because that's everything. If you're worried about execution that way, you're never going to learn how to type on a keyboard. You're never going to learn how to move a mouse and double click on anything. You're never going to be able to learn how to walk. You know, it's everything is a muscle memory, practice, motion kind of thing. And video games are no different than that. It's just, the question is, it feels like a hurdle. Like, I just want to get into this fighting game and start chucking fireballs. That's the main difference, right? Is that you're not forced to do this every day as a job until you get good at it. And that's the hardest part about it. It's just a mentality that you have to overcome and not see it as something as like, God, why do I have to learn this? To, I'm cool with learning this, and eventually I'm going to get really good at this, and it's going to be really cool. It's just kind of a mindset. It's a kind of a mindset like that. So, Dandrig asked, why did it sound like an ad for Low Tier God when you were talking about being a low tier hero? It made me sad. I mean, look, he says that he wants to be a low tier hero. He played Urian one season in Street Fighter V when he was clearly top tier. It's whatever. There are people out there who like low tiers, right? So I am a huge fan of low tier characters. I was always a fan of low tier characters, and yeah. Anyways. Dashing is difficult, huh? Dashing is difficult. Yeah. Dashing is kind of Let me see. The key to my parents' house was miscut, and the first time I used to take me 15 minutes to get to open the door, as it had to be exactly the right depth and twist. Eventually just used it like a normal key once I memorized how to use it. I had a door like that in college. I absolutely did. I had a door that was like impossible to open, but then once I just figured out how to twist, pull, and push in just the right way, it would open like no problem. It's exactly one of those situations, dude. It's exactly like that. It's strange. Dude, the Xbox controller thing, Burst Stark, is 100% a problem that I have. It's 100% a problem that I have. So, dashing can be kind of difficult, Bloy, but it's just something, like I said, you just got to practice. And once you learn how to dash, Bloy, are you a pad player or are you a joystick player? Because as a joystick player, and this probably is going to have to be a supplemental episode as well about using controllers and stuff like that. As a joystick player, it can be tricky to dash properly if you don't understand how to use the joystick properly. And there actually is a correct and incorrect way to use a joystick. See, this is how I know I played a lot of fighting games. When you said you had trouble dashing, I almost instantly knew you were a stick player, because I totally get that. Because one of the things that a lot of people will make the mistake of when they play on a joystick, when they try to dash, is they try to do this. They try to move and dash forward by hitting forward twice like this on the joystick, right? And what the problem with this is that you're not letting go of the joystick. Once you learn how to dash properly, you actually learn to do this. You let the joystick bring it back to neutral for you. This is how you dash. This is how most people dash. If you're holding on the stick and trying to do forward like this, it's so hard to dash because you'll hit all the wrong directions. If you learn to do this, this is going to be dash. And when I dash the other way, I do this. I just take my thumb and I dash this way, and then this way. To dash right, I double tap like this. Like these are little things that you'll learn, and once you learn them, it becomes second nature after a while. So, how do you do it on a controller? I mean, if you just have a pad, let me grab a pad really quick. If you have a pad like this, right? I mean, all you're going to do when you're playing with your thumb like this, you know, you'll learn to lift your hand off the controller maybe and just double tap your thumb like this. Give yourself more leverage. Because when you're you can learn to dash this way just by keeping your hand on here. But the way that I usually play, if I want to dash like that, I probably would. Actually, no, I might keep holding the controller. It depends, because some people play with the controller on their leg like this. Like they play with the controller on their knee. And if you have this, you have the ability to let go a little bit. But for the most part, you just learn to double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap like this, right? You just learn to just get good at double tapping like this. But the nice thing about having it be on a pad is it's just a button. You're just hitting a button. If you have a hitbox or a cross-up, then it's even easier, because then they literally are just buttons. Like hyper tappers for Tetris. Very good, very good. So, what makes a game hard/easy? Shobu James, the real answer to this is that all fighting games are hard. That's what I said in my first episode, and regardless of how much you try to dumb down Jasmine, stop it. No matter how much you try to dumb down a fighting game, they're going to be hard, because fighting games are all about psychology versus somebody else. They're hard because they're a two-player game. They're always going to be hard because they're a two-player game. However, games end up being more hard by just having more system mechanics, by having more difficult execution, by having more things that you have to focus on and more things that you have to do. A game like Guilty Gear is harder because all the characters are so crazy, and you've really got to learn how to fight each one of the characters, and each one is like their own separate video game. Tekken is the same way. You've got to memorize which buttons are plus and negative and when you can attack and all these things, and Tekken is wild that way because there's so many characters and they have like 1,000 moves. And so you really got to learn how to fight all those different moves, because different people use different moves, and it's crazy. Then there are games that just don't have as many mechanics, right? So they're a little bit simpler to learn. Honestly, though, I think the biggest factor, which a lot of people don't focus on, is I actually think the games that are the easiest to learn are the most fun. Because when you're having fun, it doesn't matter, right? As long as you're having fun, it's a good time, right? That's what I've always said the weakness of Street Fighter V is that they took away a lot of the fun in Street Fighter V. The combos weren't as fun, so a lot of people had trouble with that. You got knocked down and you just got okied to death, and that doesn't feel fun. They took away uppercutting limbs. They took away a lot of the things that make you feel good about yourself. Whereas in Tekken, while it's just as complicated, you get the counter hits that zoom in and you feel like a god. You win the slow motion. You feel like a god. It's like you add in the elements of fun, and that game will always be easy. As long as you're having a good time, trust me, learning is always going to be easy, right? That's the real answer of how a game is fun or how a game is easy or hard. Because I just saw, a bunch of tweets from Irene, Pat the Flip's wife, who's been learning Guilty Gear recently, and she's like, it's really not that hard, and I like the difficulty because it makes me feel rewarded and blah, blah, blah. She's having fun with the game. So when you're having fun with the game, it doesn't matter how hard it is, right? It just doesn't even matter. Now, you could be like me, who just whines and complains about everything all the time because that's just my nature. I'm having fun, but I never sound like I'm having fun. Because that's just how I am, because I'm super hard on myself, and I'm just at a constant state of being disappointed in myself. But trust me, I'm having fun. So even though it sounds like I'm suffering in Tekken, I'm actually having fun, okay? I'm actually having fun. You think the new CE and the new V-Skill will give it some life in the long run? A lot, actually. Everybody's been talking about... Jasmine, stop it! Everybody's been talking about how much this season of Street Fighter V has just changed the game and how much they really enjoy the game right now. In fact, I keep using him as an example, and I told him this yesterday at Wednesday Night Fights, and he was like, go ahead and name names, I don't care. Tekken Tim, I saw him post on Facebook. He's like, I hated Street Fighter V in Season 1. I picked it up recently again, and the game is actually fun. I'm really surprised. It's doing really well. And Tekken Tim is kind of a hater. And to have him actually say that about Street Fighter V was pretty impressive. So there you go. I think the game is in a great state right now. Is it going to open up to a bunch more players, a bunch of new players? Probably not. We're not going to get a ton of new players playing the game. But, for those who are playing it or who have been holding back from playing it, this is a good time to get back in, especially with a $30 Champion Edition. Or if you had it since Season 1, it only costs you $25. And you'll get all the costumes and all the characters, and you can just go to town on a game that's actually really, really enjoyable right now. So... maybe not be an old man thing, not that one guy, because I've always been that way to myself, and I've always been competitive, and I've always been emotional, so I have bad temper, and a lot of it is the Asian upbringing as well, so I'm particularly hard on myself for lots of reasons. I've been that way for my whole life, so oh man. But yeah, if anybody has any other questions here about the neutral stuff that I've been doing, or again, feedback on the episode, did that feel good to you guys? I did feel like I was a little more rambly than the first episode that I did. But let me know if you guys didn't feel that at all. Like I said, I'm hard on myself, so maybe maybe it flowed a little bit better than it did in my mind, and then I felt like it flowed. So just let me know how it sounded to you guys. And like I said, if you guys have any feedback on that episode, because like I said, I want to make these First Attack episodes as high quality and as easy to understand and as entertaining as possible. So... okay, cool. No, I was just happy that I got myself. Remember, it was a couple of episodes. It was the two days of awful DMV. It was 2 days in a row. Is there a meaningful distinction between neutral and scramble? Yeah. The reason why I call some scramble... A scramble situation. So neutral is both players are trying to fight for an advantage. The scramble is both players have no idea what the hell is happening. And they're like, what? And stuff just happens, and they're trying to figure out what's happening. And that's basically kind of the difference right there. Scramble is more just that both players are super confused and stuff is happening and they're not sure why it's happening and they just start throwing things out. So there is definitely a big distinction between neutral and scrambling. Although you could actually say scramble is more of a different thing than footsies, and scrambles are kind of part of neutral, but it's because they're still trying to fight for the advantage. You're just not sure where the starting point is. Like when you're playing careful footsies, you know, I'm in this distance, and scramble situations are like, what the hell? How did I flip over here? And oh God, I gotta do this, and you're trying to funnel everything back into a normalized situation of advantage. So it might actually be part of neutral, but it's just a part of it. It's just the crazy nobody has any idea what's going on part of footsies, of neutral. DBFZ is actually one big scramble situation. It can be, but it's actually not necessarily. Games like, I mean, the reason why I think Marvel 3 is one of the greatest fighting games of all time is because the footsies in that, although that game just looks like one big giant scramble, it's the footsies in that game have actually become really, really good. And you actually get full screen, distance, height footsies that are really interesting that a lot of other fighting games don't have. And so actually at a high level, when you do see Dragon Ball FighterZ, it is very careful footsies, despite the fact that they have vanishes and dragon rushes and stuff like that. And Dragon Ball is going to be one of the most interesting games once I get into the attack vectors episode, because attack vectors are going to be super important for Dragon Ball. I know you'll talk about this at a later episode, asks Cylon Scion, but what should a beginner be focusing on most during the neutral? Movement, yeah. Learning to move and make your decisions based on the opponent and not panicking and hitting a lot of buttons. Honestly, like it's a very careful thing. And once I get into the next episode where I talk about footsies a little bit more and the RPS of footsies, of the rock, paper, scissors of footsies, you'll have a better idea of exactly, like, to the detail what you're supposed to be doing in footsies. But for the most part, when you're a neutral, learn to play a game of trying to get into the ranges that you want to be in and keeping those kind of ranges, right? When you fight against an opponent, learn how to move in relation to them. Don't just think, you know what, I'm going to do this, etc., etc. I think was it Drunken Banana, I think, that I saw play very early on in one of my old episodes, like maybe a year or 2 years ago, that I noticed that, you know, he would always backdash, throw an EX Fireball with Chun-Li, and then dash after it. And, you know, that was kind of his neutral reset. That was how he started neutral and everything like that. And, you know, I had recommended to him to maybe try to focus a little bit more on, you know, playing against the other person in like a lot more of a careful kind of footsies and distancing kind of game. It was always reset the situation and go back in as, okay, so it was Drunken Banana. So it was more of a reset the situation. But what you want to do in neutral is you want to see if you can learn how to transition from being in this kind of situation to an advantage position. Same thing with Nutacon's EX Psycho Ball. Yes, I remember that too. It's a very common tactic because it's a safe thing. Like throwing a fireball in front of you and chasing behind it is so easy to do. It's like one of the easy ways to get in, and it's something that a lot of players can accidentally fall into the trap of relying on a little too heavily. Sejakun asks, since you talk about Marvel games, I've been playing them since MSH in the 90s, but I haven't been able to improve since then. I can do basic ground or air combos, and that's about it. When I see people pulling out 150 plus hits on MVC3, do they improvise the combo on that moment or what? I can barely do some of the trial combos, so watching this is insane. They juggle opponents like it's nothing. I never understood that and really have no clue how to improve my game. Well, don't focus on just the combos as the improvement. There's a lot of different areas on improving, Sejakun. But one of the key things about doing long combos like that is muscle memory. It's all about muscle memory. And what happens is the way that you actually figure out the combo and learn how to do it, it's not improvisation. They've practiced that combo and they've done that super long sequence. I mean, have you seen some of Cloud 805 sequences? Like, he's just doing... Like, I don't even know how that guy does it sometimes. I'm baffled by this as a person who's done super long combos. But the way that it works is that most of the time when you do combos like that, you aren't doing one long combo. You're doing sections. If you take, it's like trying to memorize a giant number, right? Why are phone numbers divided into 3 and 4? Why is there even a dash in there? It's because it's a lot easier to memorize a 3-digit number and a 4-digit number than it is to memorize a 7-digit number. Psychologically, it's a mnemonic, right? A lot of the times when you try to learn a lot of these things, like, for example, if you're trying to learn a big, long thing, you break it into chunks and memorize each piece one by one. Credit card numbers are divided 4, 4, 4, 4, so it's very easy. I actually know one of my online credit card number by heart because it was that much easier to divide it into 4 sections, and I know those 4 sections. In fact, I can recite it to you right here on stream, no, I'm just kidding. So what you actually want to do, when you want to do a long combo, you muscle memory this part, you muscle memory the next part, you muscle memory the third part, and then muscle memory the transitions, right? Once you learn that, then this part is easy to do. And then you muscle memory the transition, so that's the trickiest part. You do this part, and then you need to transition into the next part. So your mental brain just needs to be able to go from this side to this side right here. So you do this, and then you transition to the next part, and then the next chunk becomes muscle memory. And then you just remember that this is the next part, so you transition from this to this part. And when you memorize the chunks and the transitions, it turns one long combo into very easily memorizable pieces. And that's basically how you do it. So when you do these long combos, you actually memorize them in pieces. And that's why if you go and try to practice a combo, and you always practice the combo from the beginning, I mean, pardon the French, but you fucked up. That's just it. You're not doing it right. You practice a combo until a good stopping point, then you learn the next part of the combo and just start from there, and then you learn the next part of the combo and start from there, etc., and then learn how to piece them all together. One of the ways that I tried to teach people how to do uppercut FADCs in Street Fighter 4 was to teach them how to blend things together and turn things into chunks. Don't do uppercut and then think, okay, focus attack, now forward dash into... No, it's uppercut into focus attack is one motion. Like, don't think of it as 2 separate things. Think of it as one thing. Uppercut, button, focus. And just hold those buttons down. Learn to do that part. Then learn how to forward dash and blend the forward dash into the double fireball motion. So just learn to dash into ultra, dash into ultra, dash into ultra. Now what you need to learn is uppercut, focus, dash into ultra. Memorize the transition between those two, and now all of a sudden you can do uppercut, focus attack, dash cancel, and the ultra just through muscle memory. Like, that's the key right there. It's just one of those tricky things about it. And yeah, obviously one of the nice things is that I've been doing it for a very long time, and so it's easy, but it's real, like, that's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it. So okay. More chunks. Yeah, no problem, Sejakun. Now, the other thing about Marvel, too, is I'll probably talk about this a little bit during a defense episode. But the other thing about Marvel as well, Sejakun, if you're used to playing Street Fighter games, you're used to countering things. You're used to saying, oh, I know what my opponent's going to do, so I'm going to counter it. That doesn't work in Marvel. The defense in Marvel you've got to learn is, I know what they're going to do, so I'm just going to get the hell away. I'm not going to be there for them to do that because you can't counter it. Just get the hell out of there and then keep the neutral going so that you can lock them down, basically. It's hard to counter directly counters something. Like if I know someone's going to dash forward in Street Fighter 5, I'm going to hit crouching strong, so they dash into my crouching strong, and I'm going to buffer it into something. If I know someone's going to air jump at me and try jump at me at Marvel, I don't hit him out of the air. I just super jump and get the hell out of there. Like, that's actually one of the most important things. Just don't be there. It's not even don't get hit, it's don't be there. Yeah, kite music. The best defense is just not being there. And the nice thing about Marvel is you have that option. You can super jump and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a very, very different style of game. I still remember that. I was playing against Noel Brown a long time ago, and he would use Amy and air dash at me and call an assist, and I would try to raw launch the Amy, or I would try to jump up and air combo, and I would try to air throw and everything, and he just stopped and he looked at me and was like, why do you keep doing that? I was like, because I know you're going to air dash me, and I'm trying to counter it. And he was like, stop. He's like, just don't be there. And I was like, really? And like, that was such a mind-blowing moment for me. Same thing with Flo. He would get me in this lockup in Vanilla Marvel where he would do box jump with Dante into call the assist with Wesker. So I got hit by a high-low left-right at the same time, and I just kept getting hit by that. I'm like, how do you get away from that? And Flo was like, you don't. And I was like, then how do you not kill Justin every time you play Justin? And he's like, Justin is never there. And Justin's like, yeah, you just don't be there. And I was like, what? And it just didn't make any sense to me because I'm such a Street Fighter player. And like, for me, it's like I would rely on my defense. And in those games, you can't rely on your defense. The offense is designed to be too strong that your defense will fail. Right? So the best plan is just don't be there. And it took me a while to understand that about Marvel. I never quite understood it, so I always ended up dying. I could never get good at Marvel because I could never get my brain to fully grasp don't be there mentality. So there you go. Well, there you go. That's I'll talk about a little bit about that kind of defensive thing more in the defense future episode as well. So, yeah, Guilty Gear is very similar to that. How not to be there? Don't play the game. That is definitely a way that works. It's not as fun, but it definitely works. So, but in any case, does anybody have any other questions? If not, then I will call it a night. And then maybe later on I'll come back and stream Seth and figure out later on tonight. I'll mess with Seth a little bit and find out what that character is all about and everything like that. But if there's no more questions, I'm going to feed my cats. You've never lost a game to Justin? Hey, look, I beat Justin Wong at B5 in Super Turbo, and I've never played him in a tournament in Super Turbo ever again because that way I will always be undefeated against him in Super Turbo. I have not picked up Unity yet, Star-Lord. I have not found the time to do that yet. It's a really, really difficult kind of situation. But we are going to feed cats for sure. We are definitely going to feed cats. I can see a lot of people excited about the cats here. What I'm surprised about is that my cats haven't figured it out. Somehow they always seem to know when it's about time. I thought they started recognizing the words, feed my cats, and then they would show up here all of a sudden. But if I touch this, that might actually trigger Jasmine, or she's nowhere to be found. Sorry, my home is a mess, by the way, and that's the way it goes. Let's see if I can get them running upstairs as fast as possible here. Oh, wait, there's Nathan. But if I do this, oh man, you heard Nathan meow all of a sudden. Just want to see if I get Jasmine running up the stairs. I mean, honestly, Jasmine might be using the litter right now. Oh, there she comes. Look, you see her burst through? Yeah, she was probably using the litter and going, oh, crap, oh, crap, oh, crap, I'm going to miss food. No, if I don't make it up there, I'm never going to eat. So, yeah, there you go. She just burst in there, burst into the room like that cat bursting through the snow, although that was a fabricated video. Hi, Jasmine. Ugh. Jasmine, oh God, you are an adorable cat. You are an adorable cat. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Okay. Jasmine is a sweetie pie. Give him some fish today. What is this? Ocean fish and chicken casserole. I'm sorry, cacciatore. Cacciatore. And then my sharks that look like cats are circling for food. You get Jasmine to climb up. Good girl. Mwah. Good girl. And here you go for your food. They're meowing very loudly. And there we go. There are my kitties. They are eating their food. I mean, that's literally what it's called. It's called chicken cacciatore. I didn't make the pun. They made the pun. I really do hope you guys could hear Nathan as soon as I made the kissing noises. And he just meowed instantaneously. It's so amazing. Yeah, dude, she just ran up. She was just like, oh my God. Oh, thank you, Nutacon, for the bits. If you guys do appreciate the content and all the stuff like that, as I've mentioned before, my goal is to try to get to 250 subs. Let me talk to all the subs who came on here in the last hour. Shobu James gifted a sub to Shing. Suck my nuts, Shing. And suck my nuts, Shobu James. As well as Mr. Rudy has subscribed. Suck my nuts, Mr. Rudy. Oni Ramen resubscribed as well through, I just resubscribed, so suck my nuts. Oni Ramen as well. Appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Donations, all that kind of stuff would help as well. Appreciate all that stuff like that. And like I said, I hope everybody's having a good day, so... Yang has a cat show up in SF3 as a win pose, huh? I might have seen it before, or is it one of those like weird super win secret win poses that's like that's harder to see or something like that? Hey, thank you for the subscription, Scooter Bombs. Appreciate it. Appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. Iori gave a cat a milk once. Oh, it's a 7 win streak. Interesting. Okay, okay. I'll switch to the other camera here, just so we can see. Whenever people subscribe, so we'll switch to this camera again. Get rid of this. There you go. So you can see right now, I am down. I'm still at what? Really? Am I only at 122 subs right now? Have the subs been dropping as we've been going more quickly than the subs have been rolling in for this session? Man, Twitch is a tough gig, man. It's a tough gig. I'm getting subs and I'm still dropping in subs. Like I said, the goal is to try to hit 250 by June. That would be really awesome if I can find a way to do that, but it's a tough situation here. So thank you to Origami Kingdom. Thank you for becoming a subscriber here as well. No, Seji-kun, feel free to ask another question. Feel free to ask another question. I have an FGC Valentine in my Twitter mentions. How do you even know that, Cone? Is there a way that you can see my mentions? Is that just something that you can do? I mean, obviously, it's probably not hard to do. I think a sub-only tournament would be sick. Oh, you sent it. Okay, fair enough. I would definitely commentate something like that. I mean, if people would be cool with stuff like that. with like a sub-only tournament or sub-only giveaways and things like that. Talking about picking up a character, how do you select a team in MVC3? Can you pick anyone? You can try. You can try to pick anyone and see how well they work together synergy-wise, but that's a little bit tougher. In those games like that, you do oftentimes end up being forced to learn certain characters. Like, I know for certain with my Felicia, I couldn't just pick any assists. I had to pick certain ones that made it so that I could use Felicia. Team games are always a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder, so... I think it's a $5 entry to enter a tournament commentated by you. Dude, I would totally be down for that. If you guys are okay with that idea, if you guys think it would be cool to actually do sub-only tournaments, I'm totally down to do that. I'm totally down to do that. Yeah, that's one of the tricky things you see. Like, so you saw that... Origami Kingdom subscribed, and the number of subscriptions didn't go up because I think he was already a subscriber. So that's the way it works. So a lot of times it doesn't go up when you see people subscribe because it's the same person who was already subscribed. So, obviously I need new subscribers. That's the goal right there. But yeah, if you guys can think of any ways that I can reward subscribers a little bit more and stuff like that, as long as that's kosher by the viewers and everything like that, I'm totally down to do these kind of things. So, but in any case, thanks guys for hanging out and chilling over here. Like I said, I'll probably mess with Seth maybe later on tonight on stream just to see what that character's like. Tomorrow, I'll probably try to do another beginner stream where people... the Chensor Dojo stream where I get beginners to play each other and then I give them advice on their gameplay. I haven't decided if I'm going to do Street Fighter 5 or Samurai Showdown or maybe even Grand Blue Fantasy Versus tomorrow. I'll do a poll on Twitter to see what you guys prefer for tomorrow on that. So, but I definitely want to check out Seth and see what the character is all about. So. Thanks, guys, for watching. Say goodnight to Jasmine, who is just slowly chewing away at her food because she's not a vacuum cleaner like Nathan is. But thanks, guys, for tuning in, and have a good night, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.